Welcome back, and as we said, we're speaking about the situation in the Middle East, or the situation here in the region, and how this reflects on Egypt, which is at the heart of all the conflicts. We have with us for discussion Dr. Karim Hamza, researcher at the Institute of European Studies in Brussels. We thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Mara. كل سنة وحضرتك طيبة.
حضرتك طيب. Let me here start with the situation. I don't know where to start from. Starting from the war in Gaza, what is going on of radical groups rising in Iraq, in Syria, civil wars that is implicating Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Libya. What is this? Where do we start from? How can you describe the whole scene?
I can summarize it in one statement that Middle East are suffering from cancer. That
many cancers.
Yeah, that you have an infection
cancers of different
cancer,
types.
Yeah, that you have transferred from the vampire age to the zombie age. That you have a niche group that used to take the blood of the people and abuse the people and the power. Now you're starting to have a worse scenario, which is the zombie, that people are killing each other for no reason. Okay, under the claim of protecting countries, or fascism, or radicalism, or religious belief, which is an extremist belief. What's happening in the Middle East is like a self-destruction mode. It started, we cannot blame Arab Spring, because the idea of the Arab Spring was for the better, not for the worse, but it was misused or abused to be used as a destruction for the nations or the countries existing in the Middle East. If you look to the scenario in Libya, what is happening in Libya? They started...
Let me just comment on what you said. The Arab Springs was a dream of nations, of the Arab nations, to live,
yes,
or to have a better living. What happened is a nightmare, not a dream.
Black nightmare.
Indeed.
Okay, and this maybe because we as a nations of the Middle East, we didn't use the opportunity well, in the same time that it was intervened by external and internal power groups that was interested to make it for the worst. If you go for Libya, after ousting Muammar Gaddafi,
the assassination of Muammar
Gaddafi assassination, there was a big dream for a big Libya. What is happening now? Who is taking benefit of what is happening now? Why the United Nations and the EU and the United States was very eager to intervene by military power inside Libya, and did do the same case in Iraq or Syria or in Gaza? Okay, why some militant group are taking funds and taking weapons and taking intelligence to fight each other? Why they are supported? Why the idea in dividing Libya for more than country or more than group? By the way, as a political analysis, Libya now is facing the condition of a failed state. Failed state means there is no central authority that take control of the country or the state to take care of the citizen. So you'll find like a fascist group are taking care of different parts from Libya, but there is no one whole country. And this is appearing that the government in Libya is not able to stop the militant from even protecting Tripoli and protecting the airport, to secure civilians and to stop fires, to avoid having a catastrophic nightmare in Tripoli. So the center authority or the center power of the government is not existing. So you find that every group have support of tribe or support of external or internal other groups, have enough weapons, they can fight and take care.
You started from Libya. I wanted to start from another, from elsewhere, from where it all began here with the invasion of Iraq, and then to which extent Iraq reached recently in this claimed Islamic State by the ISIL or the IS right now, the Islamic State, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. I wanted to start from the very beginning, where all it starts from the US invasion to Iraq to topple the so-called dictator Saddam Hussein, and to control the weapons of mass destruction, which by no means were found. Anyway, with this, the whole story started. But now we are speaking about when the whole situation started to bear some fruits, or to find a kind of country or a state. And when they want, the Iraqi people were on their way to have a real state with the withdrawal of the US troops, suddenly this group came out of the blues, this Daesh, and it started its claim of initiating an Islamic state there, with all radical means, with everything that does not even relate to Islam by one reason.
This is true.
So let's start from Iraq and then go to Gaza, because it's another story and it's another war that's escalated out of the blue.
I want to finish with Gaza, because Gaza is a hot topic now, and it have a lot of implications that will happen. Iraq was the beginning of something called the New Middle East. It was a plan developed by Mrs. Condoleezza Rice when she announced that we have to make a new Middle East in order to make democracy and to fulfill the values of democracies. The United States attacked Iraq under the claims that they have nuclear weapon inside. Okay.
Actually, biological weapons and weapons of mass destruction.
Mass destruction, or whatever different types, or nuclear weapons capabilities, or whatever they have. Okay, and they invaded Iraq, and while invading Iraq, I believe the casualties was over 100,000 Iraqi was killed.
That reached 1 million.
That reached 1 million a few years after. And in the same time, after they killed Saddam, they found there is no weapons, there is no biological weapons, there is no threats.
Not even traces.
Not even traces. Mr. Bush continues his presidency as usual, no interfering, and he is using his social life as normal, and even he is still continuing as a political figure. By law, he should be tried as a war crime.
War criminal, yes.
War criminal. He should be accused as a war criminal. Can the United States accuse Mr. George Bush as a war criminal or not? If really they are implementing democracy, they should.
Can the international community accuse Mr. Netanyahu of genocide and war crimes? That's
if they didn't accuse George Bush, you will not accuse Netanyahu.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely, we're speaking about it.
So what happened now, after the U.S. Army have left Iraq under the claims they have supported enough the Iraqi government, Mr. al-Maliki come and try to implement the same methodology of the Brotherhoods in Egypt in 2013, which is depending on discrimination between religious groups. So he's trying to support Shia against Sunni, which create a lot of inside hatred and create a lot of divide in the society. What we see now is that Iraq are pushed to be divided into three factions, which is Sunni, Shia, and Kurdish. At the same time, if you look to ISIS or these militant groups that appeared suddenly, it is the same scenario that appeared in the beginning of 2000 in Afghanistan, which is Taliban. In no time they appeared. They have intelligence support, they have weapons support, they have financial support, they had training, okay? They took over Afghanistan in no time. The United States have kept Taliban almost for 3 years until they have dissolved all the states, then they start to strike back. Can you tell me, is the United States capable to retaliate or attack this ISIS or not?
No idea.
They can, okay? But he finds the reverse. Whenever they go...
Is the United States as powerful as it was when it attacked and completely finished Taliban at then?
Of course it is powerful. They have the tools, they have the technology, they have the intelligence, they have the techniques and so on. They are not fighting a state, they are fighting a group, a militant group. But the idea, and instead of so, you'll find it is much more like intelligence war. Intelligence war, which is depending on agencies supporting each other. So what is happening, they found them one day, they reach Mosul, they have all of the supply of the Iraqi army in Mosul. Can you think this is something logical to happen by coincidence?
Was it logical when the army
was ordered to leave Mosul? Okay, then ISIS have an access to the fuel of, or the oil of Mosul or north of Iraq, and they are selling it now. And they have a couple of court claims, and Russia started to say anybody who will buy the oil from ISIS or IS or whatever they call it, he is considered that he is supporting terrorism. Okay, so you have given this group suddenly weapons, supply,
funds,
oil, fund, and you give them a state in less than 2 or 3 months. So I don't think this is a coincidence. Okay, in the same time they are trying to take part from Syria. So if you look to the map, they are trying to reflect that the Sunni are the worst nightmare of Islam. Because
already this Nusra Front swore alliance with them, and the Nusra Front, which was also supported by the Western and the US,
this is true.
turned to be in
what is happening, the methodology of ISIS, they are trying to destroy religious places for Shia and trying to kill Shia figure in Mosul. What will happen in response? That Shia in south of Iraq will attack Sunni religious figures. So what will happen in the Gulf region, which is a mix between Sunni and Shia? What will happen in Saudi Arabia? What will happen in Kuwait? What will happen in Bahrain? This means that Daesh or IS is the spark of fire, oil and gas. This is what can I explain. It is like the spark of fire that can explode all of the region, because it will increase the hatred between Sunni and Shia. It will increase the hatred between Muslims and Christians. They have expelled Christians from Mosul, asked them to go out of the country. I believe over 15,000 have been expelled as refugees. What is the reflection of this on Islam to the Western side? So whomever doing this is not representing Islam. He is used against Islam. Okay. In the same time, he is responsible to increase the divide between Arab nations and Muslim nations between each other. If you find that other militant groups in Syria, in Lebanon, in Gaza, in Libya, even in Egypt, trying to have the same name of ISIS and Daesh, and they are supporting by their Mr. Khalifa or something like that, to make terrorist attacks on the regimes in this area, and they are calling they are defending Islam and liberating Palestine. I don't know how they are liberating Palestine in Western Egypt. So the idea now, they are taking the cover of Islam or religion in order to destroy whatever remaining from regimes or nations as a state in the Middle East. This scenario was supposed to happen also in Egypt. What's happening in Iraq today was supposed to happen in Egypt. Alhamdulillah, we have a solid army. The only reason we stay as a one unit, as a one country now, is because we have our Egyptian army. See what is happening in Libya. It is a nightmare for Libyans and for the Arab countries and for Egypt especially. Why? Because Libya is the western neighbor of Egypt.
Definitely.
We have a strong social and economical and political relations with Libya. With the scenario happening now, without having a formal authority, strong government, with a strong army that can unite Libya, this means Libya will be a failed state that can be divided into small states.
It is a failed state so far.
We still have hope for the last minute. Of course, the international community doesn't have the proper means to interfere now in Libya, because it is militants against militants. It is the same scenario like what happening in Somalia from 5 or 6 years ago. The problem now that you have almost over 1 million civilian Egyptian inside Libya, how we can get them back. Now, since you have different militant groups, some militant groups are feeling empathy with Brotherhood, so they feel that the Egyptians have betrayed the Brotherhood, so they are trying to get revenge from Egyptian civilians. They're trying to rob them, they're trying to kill them, and so on. So there was one of the news that over 6 or 9 civilian Egyptians was killed in the Tunisia border today, but I'm not sure it is confirmed or not. With Libyan.
Not confirmed up to this minute, but
yeah, so this was announced on social media, so I haven't heard in formal news. So now we have to get our civilians, and we have to put our precautions, because also the Egyptian authority have alerted, announced high alert, because you can have a terrorist attack coming from Libya, because now they have weapons, they have airplanes, they have rockets. So even the aviation sector, civilian aviation sector, start to consider Libya as non-fly zone. It is risky to fly over Libya. The nightmare in Libya mean more refugees, either from Egyptian civilians or Libyan civilians, that can come to Egypt. So this can have an economical and social problem, because how you transfer them back and then rehabilitate in the society while we have existing economical problem. Of course, the security and the safety of our civilian. Of course, have you heard on the Farafra massacre? So you can have more terrorist attacks that can attack our borders. This means that our western border are totally exposed to terrorism. And here we are not speaking on a couple of bombs or a couple of militants. No, we are speaking on
very trained,
heavy
specialized
weapons,
militias
that can
weapons.
penetrate the borders, which can have negative impact on our safety and security. So Egypt in this time have to protect the borders with all means, and this means have to invest more in the National Guard, and to invest more by more advanced planes and more advanced security system. The international community, I think they will watch what is happening, but they will not do anything unless there is oil inside. This is.
But there is oil in Libya. But
okay,
they're not moving.
so they will agree with the strongest militants that can protect the oil. So they wait until see who is strongest in the ground. So
yes, who is winning, and then they will
start
associate with them or
to negotiate. So what is happening in Libya is totally destroying the country, killing all of the dreams of the Libyan and even for the Egyptian, because Libya is our neighbor and they are our brothers and sisters. So we are not happy for what they are facing now. If you want to look to the right side.
So we here are speaking about a disaster in Iraq, disaster in Libya, and a real disaster in Libya that is really, really impacting us directly. We're speaking also about Syria because it's part of the ongoing...
Syria, it is still the humanitarian crisis still existing, and Libya is grabbing the attention away.
No, let Gaza alone, because we will speak about Gaza.
So the media now is not taking care of what is happening in Syria, because they are busy with other news like Ukraine and other catastrophe in the Middle East. But still, the suffer are existing. Mr. al-Assad still is not able to maintain a good position. Still there is a fight between IS and other militant groups. So still the Syrians are suffering, and they are continue suffering. So no one knows how it will end. It is reaching the levels that no one can predict how it, that's God having ordered something to happen, or the international community agreed to go by power or force inside Syria to protect civilians. So all of this are pushing or growing the tension and the conflict and the terrorism wave inside the Middle East. This wave will not sustain in Middle East only. This will reach the neighboring region, including Europe, including US.
Definitely, but before we go into this, because this is an important point, let's complete the circle and the Gaza war and the aggressive Israeli war aggression on Gaza, on the Gaza civilians, because we're speaking about Israeli war, brutal war on Gazans, or the civilians in Gazans, with no reasons, because it has never been proven that Hamas really kidnapped those 3 teenagers, Israeli teenagers.
Even if it kidnaps them, you don't need to kill thousands.
And you don't, they never admitted. And even if they did, which has never happened, you cannot just kill 1,500 and injure more than 7,000 others just because of 3 Jewish teenagers. I mean, here, that was not haphazard. Nothing has been not prepared for, primarily.
Yes, this is true. Previously, from 2 weeks ago, since this savage or barbarian attack on Gaza started, most of the political analysis claims that main objective of Israel in entering Gaza is not to destroy Hamas, but to destroy the tunnels and the weapons of Hamas or the armed capabilities of Hamas. What I see, my personal point of view, that this is not true. What I see now is that the idea of this barbarian attack of Israel is to destroy every possible mean of life in Gaza, not Hamas. They don't want to hurt Hamas. They want to destroy every possible mean to be living in Gaza. So they destroyed infrastructure, they destroyed schools, they destroyed hospitals, they destroyed power stations, mosques and churches, because they don't want Gaza people to live in Gaza. So they want to expel Palestinians from Gaza, not to expel Hamas from Gaza.
And they want to expel them where?
Wherever they go, Egypt, Sea, Jordan, somebody from Europe, they don't care. Okay?
I guess Hamas is calling for the opening of
Hamas
Rafah
was the
crossing?
excuse. Either they know that or they don't know that. They was the excuse that Israeli government used to kill Palestinian people. What you find now, they are not hitting military targets, they are hitting civilian targets. Before I come for 2 hours, there was a footage on a news channel. They are shooting the ambulance while they are taking injured.
They are shooting people when they come to get the bodies of their dead people from the rubble.
Second UN school in 2 days. After all the international community stand up, they have shooted another UN schools where they were sleeping, killing over 19 children. So the rise of fascism or the rise of extremists in Israel are becoming higher than the rise of extremists in the Middle East. But on the other hand, they are claiming that they are protecting democracy and they are protecting themselves. What we are seeing now, it is a massacre, it is a genocide, it is an organized genocide against the Palestinian people in Gaza. Maybe it is in a slow motion, but it is an organized genocide. They are destructing all possible means to live in Gaza. So when the war is finished, not before 1 week from now, how the people in Gaza will be able to live? You will find at least 10% or 20% want to immigrate or want to leave Gaza.
So this is a massacre to the Palestinian people taking place at the eyes and ears of the international community or of the whole world, and they are watching massacring a population.
After hitting second UN school, the United States have allowed $1 billion weapons, supplies, artillery to Israeli government, while they know they are hitting civilians. And one of the representatives of the United States say, please Israel, don't hit civilians when you shoot Gaza. So here we find unbalanced way of view of democracy, and here we find, yes, Israel have to protect themselves, but they don't have to protect other civilians.
Israel has to protect itself from what? From rockets?
From the rockets, the fire rockets.
That do not reach 5 kilometers from
fireworks. They have to protect themselves.
Fireworks, yes.
Yeah, we can call it a fireworks if you wish.
Indeed.
Okay, but what's happening now, they are giving them supplies, weapons supplies, not a fund, not a food, not nothing like that. And at the same time, they haven't give medical supplies or food supplies to Gazan people. So I don't know how Mr. Obama thinks that he is doing with his international relation or external relation in the Middle East.
Dr. Karim, what is going on in Iraq? What is going on in Syria? What is going on in Libya? What has been prepared for or wanted for Egypt? What is going on in Sudan? And what is going on in the whole area? Including the Israeli escalation. What is the aim of all that? What do they want from this area?
to be in the dark age. We are returning back to the dark age because the only two sustainable countries in the region till now who can have an army and defend themselves are Saudi Arabia plus the Gulf plus Egypt. And the circle are closing tight around them. Okay? So if these two allies didn't fight well to sustain, we will be inside this mess too. Okay? It will take time, but I believe we can sustain, and I believe if we sustain, we can help our neighboring countries. Help our neighboring countries by moderate speech, by moderate Islamic views, by moderate relations between nations and regimes and civilians.
That is, if you're speaking to moderate people and common people, not paid mercenaries, not ones who were implanted in our countries
We are currently
to raise
in
a
war.
kind of radicalism. If we are speaking about that, but exactly what is the last goal that they want to achieve? What do they want from this Middle East, and why
Failing of
are
Egypt
the
and
Arabs
Saudi Arabia.
falling to this trap?
Falling of Egypt and Saudi Arabia. Because falling of Egypt and Saudi Arabia is the end of the Middle East. This means that we'll be in the dark age and we'll enter an era of internal or long time civil wars between each other. So without these two countries sustaining the fight, Middle East will have a problem.
Dr. Karim Hamza, I guess that ends our episode here, but that is a very, very pessimistic view to the whole scene.
I cannot be optimistic in the current situation. I have to plan on the empty side of the cup, not on the full side of the cup. So I have to plan on the worst situation. So if I am responsible or in authority in these two countries, I have to plan that I am in the middle of war and I have to protect my country and I have to help my neighbors. Okay? This, we haven't speak about the external factors that can impact us, because now we have an uprising of another Cold War between US and Russia that can have an implications on us and that can have intervening and can have an opportunities for us also. Okay? So now, as an Arab nation, as a Muslim nation, if we didn't wake up and unite together, we'll be really a history, and will be a bad history, not a good history. We'll be a model that give a bad image for Islam, give a bad image for Arabs. We didn't protect our heritage, we haven't protect our beliefs, so we have to unite together against this cancer or against this flood of militants that they are claiming that they are representing Islam.
Right. Dr. Karim Hamza, researcher at the Institute of European Studies in Brussels, we thank you very much for joining us.
It is my pleasure, thank you, and I hope all of this will end soon, inshallah.
Yes, we all hope, Dr. Hamza. Thank you for watching, and I cannot end, but hopefully our countries would succeed and overcome such threats. Good night.